Hello, I'm Doug, and I will be walking us through DUExotic's project on animal conservation in Colorado. So sit back while I walk us through the issues that face animal conservation today and how we intend to address these difficult problems. Let's start with why. Why is animal conservation so important? See, a lot of the time when we think about giant issues, we think about famine, floods, hurricanes, recessions, inequality. We think about everything else other than the fact that the animals are losing their habitat. And that's fine. That's normal. It doesn't directly affect us. We don't think about the wolves, the buffalo, the trout, and many other species. We are focused on the issues right in front of us, instead of the ones where we ask the what ifs. What if there is no more? No more wolves, buffalo, you get the point. It becomes a long list of hypotheticals, and most of us don't have the patience to examine all of the different caveats. But let's make this real for a second. Let's walk through an example. How many know what this little guy is? It's a prairie dog. He is what scientists call a keynote species. This little guy is responsible for creating habitats for 150 different animals and providing a food source for many others. He also helps regulate our soil and create diverse vegetation. Without him, we would lose substantial parts of our ecosystem. But again, this idea seems a little distant. 150 animals doesn't seem like a lot. I mean, there's 8.7 million different animals after all. That's not even 0.5%. Let's think about this a little more. What would change without the prairie dog in our ecosystem? What would happen? Well, to put it simply, as a former competitor of the prairie dog, the population of rats would begin to increase. There would be an abundance of these rodents, and with an increase in this population, we would see an increase in disease and illness, as well as many other changes throughout the food chain. As you can see, the effects of something as small as the extinction of the prairie dog will cause drastic effects all the way up the food chain. So imagine what would happen if the bear, wolf, or even deer population went extinct. Essentially, a cycle of change is created throughout the food chain. During the past couple of weeks, our team has determined that the biggest obstacle facing animal conservation is a lack of knowledge and funding. Many people don't understand the gravity of animal conservation as they would a hurricane or famine, and as such, there's very little funding for it. In total, the Colorado government budgets $38 million for animal conservation in parks. When we add revenue from licenses and hunting, the total effort is closer to $231 million. However, with 84.9 million acres, this comes out to only $2.72 per acre. After seeing these numbers, I think the problem is obvious. However, it is one without a real answer. Many parks and nonprofits are largely underfunded and support for these groups is waning. So how can we help? The best way to help is to create a new revenue stream, something that helps educate people while increasing funding at a low expense to the parks themselves. This may sound impossible at first, but our group believes we have found a solution that meets all of these needs. Our idea is to create virtual tours of Colorado's beautiful landscape and wildlife and sell them to fitness equipment companies such as Peloton. Our goal with these partnerships is to expand upon their already developed following to expand our reach. These tours would be offered both as on-your-own trail tours or as tours with a guided voiceover to point out animals and habitats to help educate our users. The revenue generated from these videos would be reinvested to maintain the videos, and the rest would be given to national parks and wildlife conservation centers to fulfill their own projects and needs. No other organizations know more about the deficits and problems with animal conservation than these organizations. Keeping them funded, then, is critically important, and it is what our project aims to do. I bet that you are thinking this all seems great, but is it really feasible? What do the numbers say? Will the spreadsheets really agree with us? Our revenues derived from subscription sales will serve as a means of income addressing Colorado's $30 million wildlife conservation funding deficit. For every $39 subscription, 5 cents will be donated to Colorado Wildlife Conservation as an additional source of income aside from outdoor licensing and permits. Google Arts and Culture has already paired with the United States Park Service, creating virtual tours of various national parks, including the Rocky Mountain National Park. With a $20,000 first-year expense allocated towards the potential cost of additional tours, we reserve these funds to only act as a buffer in the case that Google requires a future payment. By 2024, net income is expected to come to $190.45 million, exceeding necessary funds by a significant margin. These projections were derived through a calculated growth rate based on historic peloton values. All of this seems great, but how will we know that our idea worked? How will we know that we did something and made a difference? How will we measure success? The impact of our idea will be measured by the amount of projects these conservation centers and national parks are able to complete. The money generated from these videos will be given to these organizations, and they can spend it on projects that they previously had to forego due to a lack of funding. Essentially, our goal would be to eliminate the need for direct government funding and subsidies. We want these organizations to become independent. Furthermore, to analyze our success on the education front, we will take user-generated surveys to analyze whether our guides were actually able to impart knowledge upon our users, and whether or not our users preferred our guided hiking programs to our hiking on your own programs. After listening to our presentation, it is our hope that we were able to help you understand the importance of animal conservation in Colorado. We believe that even a small change in our understanding of these issues can help make a big difference when it comes to the health of our ecosystem. With your help, we know that we can help change things for the better. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentation. We will now go back to the main group for questions.